You are listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
Commercial!
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to noon every Sunday, and I am your host, Angela Smarrito. Before we jump into the show, I want to give a shout out to some of our show sponsors because without their support, we would not be here today. So a big thank you to Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. Also, a thank you to Osteopathic Health of Orlando. They offer integrative medicine and regenerative medicine and so much more. Visit osteopathic.healthcare. So we have a very special show for you today because today we're going to talk about bad marketing. And so I wanted to introduce my daughter, Anna Smarrito, to the show today.
Woohoo! Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course.
How fun is this?
No, actually, thank you for coming on. I've been trying to get Anna on the show for a while now, and she's preferred the behind the scenes. And so I was like, it'll be a year in October since we actually launched BaaD Marketing as our sole enterprise. And I was like, and so we've never actually got on the radio and talked about our business and what we do. So we've talked about everybody else's business, just not our own.
I think it's about time.
I know. I think so too. So thank you for coming and being on the show today.
Of course.
So I'm going to tell a little backstory, and Anna, you jump in because I kind of contribute this all to a conversation that we had in the car when we were driving here one day. And so my background is in radio, and I've been in radio and advertising since for as long as I can remember. Marketing is what I graduated from UCF at. And I was working at an advertising agency, and I was doing the radio show. So I've told the story about how BaaD Radio became BaaD Radio, Business at a Distance, COVID, the whole thing before. But the radio show is something that came out of that Business at a Distance Facebook group that I grew and I loved, and it's like molded into this really neat thing that we can use. Businesses can come in and we can create content, and it gives businesses the opportunity to go out and talk about their business. But I had gotten to a kind of a burnout point with the show. And I know I would get home, or if you were with me on a Sunday, you would hear me be like, it would be like there would be a mistake. A commercial wouldn't run right. I was constantly having to text my rep saying this isn't right or that's not right. And then our producer, poor Ken in there, had to deal with it. And, so it got to a point where it was more frustration than it was fun.
More of a struggle.
Yeah. And then on top of that, with the marketing agency, I just was not happy. Like I could just feel myself getting to a spot where I was like, I'm not enjoying this. And I was very, very, very close to pulling the plug. And at that time, you had jumped in and volunteered to work the cameras for the YouTube part. So when you did that, were you worried at all that you weren't going to get it right?
Not necessarily. And I'm not really sure why. It's just something that I feel like I have a little bit of I definitely have your blood in me. Like I'm your daughter. But I feel like I kind of have that trait about me that you have of we're going to make it work. We're going to go in, we're going to try, we're going to make it work, we're going to make it happen. And whether that comes with trial tribulations or not, we're going to make it happen.
Right.
So definitely, I don't think so.
So, but you did. You came in and you started running the cameras. You were editing the videos. You made a new intro for the show.
That was something I've never done before.
I know.
And I actually really enjoyed doing that. So that was really cool.
So I'm seeing you do this and it's sparking me it's making me feel excited. I'm like, okay, so all of a sudden she's interested. She's making me more interested in the actual show itself. And it sparked a whole different attitude that I have. And I was like, okay, I've built this. It's been here for 4 years and then some, and it just needs some new life. And so you brought new life to it. But yeah, you figured out how to edit the shows. You made a new intro. You were able to get it onto YouTube with the thumbnails, and you did all the things. And I'm like, how did you do that? And you're just like, I just did. So
just figure it out.
Yep. So I commend you on your ability to like look at something and figure it out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I do too. Trust me. And just for the audience to know that Anna's 21 now, and she's a junior in college, but she also works with us here at BaaD Marketing and she is our social media manager. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what that actually means. But one day when we were driving to the show, and I was I don't know, like I said, I still was not feeling 100%. And Anna said to me, she said, Mom, why don't we just take BaaD and make it into a business? And I'm thinking, I was like, okay, well, I already have the LLC to Business at a Distance. I made that back in 2022. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you know, we have the show. We have Tom, your father, my husband, who's a graphic designer, and he's very talented. So we have the whole website stuff covered, and you know all the social media. And
at this point, I was doing freelance social media management for almost a year.
That's right. Let's talk about that for a second. Remind me about that one.
Yeah, of course. So at the time, I was working in the service industry. All of my jobs previously have been in the service industry one way or another. And I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the environment, but I was ready to start a job that I can kind of move my way up in, you know, gain experience for a future career. So at this time, there was a public adjuster that had a job listing opening for a assistant. There's just an assistant position, but it was a remote position. So a lot of the job requirements is stuff that I either had experience in or it was pretty easy for me to learn, you know, sending emails, writing notes, all stuff that I knew I had the capability to do. So we went in, did the interview. Interview went great. And I got a call a couple days later from the public adjuster. And he was like, you know, he's like, I really loved our interview. I loved your personality. You know, it went great. I did go ahead and hire somebody with QuickBooks experience because that's something I need at the moment. And that's something I didn't have.
Okay.
And he goes, but I do have an opening for a social media manager. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? Now, at this point, I never really had done a ton of research into what it meant to be a social media manager. But I was kind of like, you know, I'm in the younger generation, you know, Gen Z, we use social media all the time. Right. So I was like, I know how social media works to some extent.
Right.
And I know how to, you know, create graphics. I know how to post. So I was like, yeah, why not? We'll figure it out along the way.
Right. So we're just like, yes, let's take the job. We don't really know what we're doing,
but we're going to do it.
We're going to do it anyway. Yes, you are definitely my daughter.
That's how it began. And it definitely was kind of, I don't know if like culture shock is the right word, but that's like the first thing that comes to mind when you get into it. And, you know, people think that you have to have like a great passion for social media when you first get in. And that's something that I feel like the actual social media part and posting is not where I spend the most of my time.
Right.
So that's really what the job revolves around. But the most of my time comes from the actual target audience research that we're doing. So that's something that kind of came out of nowhere that I didn't really expect until I first started the job of, okay, so this is less about let's make fun graphics and put it on social media and make it look pretty. And it's more of how can we take this business and how can we create content to reach the eyes of the people that actually want to consume that content.
Right.
So a lot of the work actually, you know, comes from the marketing aspect of, you know, the psychological science between, you know, what type of content are these people consuming? How do they spend their free time? What are their pain points? Right. And then how can we actually make that into like a tangible post that they can go and see? Right. So that's something I didn't expect when I first got into it, but I ended up really loving it.
Okay.
Because then you get to make the connections. You get to learn so much about these different businesses. I can't even, I mean, you know, because we, you know, I'm your daughter, but you know, the businesses that I'm able to, you know, be involved with and learn the ins and outs of them and the functionalities of them and how they want to present themselves to their audience. You know, I'm really grateful for that opportunity to be able to do it. And I love it.
Right. No, and you worked with that for a while, but yeah, there's certain industries that I know way more than I want to, like the industry, our what is it, insurance industry. Yeah. Like I'm like, I really don't need to know anymore, but I know probably about everything there is to know.
So it's good, you know, but it doesn't make you feel too good.
So that one opportunity, you took that and you grew with that. So you taught yourself a whole lot during that time. At the same time, I remember those first reels that started to come out, and I was like, this is really, really great. Like I see like professional marketing agencies putting out content that isn't anywhere even near this good. So, well, we're going to go to break. I know it's crazy. I always say how fast it goes, but now you actually know.
Now you get to actually experience it. Yeah.
So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to have more BaaD Radio, talking about bad marketing. So stay tuned. Welcome back. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Body Street of Winter Park. Experience EMS Fitness Studio, where it only takes 20 minutes a week to get a full body workout. And I do mean a full body workout. Visit bodystreet.us for your free trial. And you actually can go on their socials, Body Street Winter Park, and fill out. It'll take you to the website to where you can fill out your free trial. And there is a ton of information on there. And if you go to those, to that Body Street social media, you're going to see a lot of Anna's work there, because Body Street is one of our clients. And I'm super proud of that as well, because it took me a little while to get Stefan to trust the process, because he'd been burned in the past. And I know that you and I have both, let me introduce you again.
That's
so
okay.
we're talking with Anna Smarrito, and she's the social media manager for our business, which is BaaD Marketing. So we're going to give her another compliment again. I sort of jumped right into it. But yes, so Body Street is a client of ours. And it took me a long while to be able to get them to come on board with us, because of their bad experience in the past. And I know you and I both see this, but this seems to happen a lot, where we address clients and they're like, oh, I had a really bad experience. And it's almost like 90% of the businesses that we talk to have that. And but with Body Street, we have been working with them for about 8 months now. Is it about 8 months now? And
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and they are fantastic. They send us referrals, which is, to me, is the biggest compliment that you can get from a client, is if they send you referrals. I also know that that Ken in there, he has a sound bite from I'm going to pump you up, which I didn't hear it this time. What happened? All right, now he's going to go find it.
I was waiting for you to pause.
But back to what we were talking about before. So social media management became a very big part of BaaD marketing. And as the business grew, you started to develop more and more and more in the social media management world. So tell us a little bit about what goes into being a social media manager for a client. Just pick any client, and you can say what does it take to post, or not want to say just post, because it's more than posting.
Absolutely.
Right? So how would you describe that?
I almost don't, because social media manager is the most widely used term, but I'm not sure if that really encompasses all that we do, right? Because some people are a social media manager and they just manage socials. Like, they just go on there. They don't make the posts. They just go on there. They manage the comments, the DMs. They take care of that. They make sure everything's running smoothly.
Then
that's
who
valid.
Does the content posting?
Everyone has their own system,
right?
Right. So it really just depends on the person. It depends on their career, the agency that they're working for, and what their processes are kind of broken up into. But the term social media manager, when it comes to BaaD marketing specifically, I just don't know if it really encompasses all that we do, because just managing the socials is a very small portion of really what we do. So we take the time to get to know the client, right? So we have plenty of meetings with them. We get to know the inside out of their business. If there is a product, or if it's, for example, Body Street. We went in, we did a Body Street session together. You regularly use Body Street, so we have a good idea of what is their company and what are their values, and how do they want their vision of their brand to be perceived, but also we get to learn about the target audience. So, it's equally as important to be able to create content that, the business is happy with, that they feel proud of to show to other people. But it's also equally, you have to consider, what do the people want to see too? What do they want to interact with? How are they going to have trust be built for this business to then take the time out of their day to stop their scroll, because, people are bored in the first 3 seconds, if it really doesn't catch your attention. So how can we create this content? So we kind of go through that process of, brainstorming, making sure that we get the ideas from the business, how they want to be perceived, to make sure that they're on brand. And then we go in and we set up a shoot date. So we have a once a month shoot date. We'll go in and we'll shoot content. We also create a shot list and get them onboarded. So we use a scheduling program. It's called Metricool. I really love it. And it makes the process really seamless. So I do all of my planning through there.
In Metricool?
In Metricool, yeah. So we go in, we plan out whether, they want 3 posts a week, 5 posts a week, depending on what their needs are. You go and you plan the ideas and you kind of build it out through the month. And then, so once we have that, we create the ideas, we get everything set up. If they're onboarded, they have access to Metricool, so they can see my process if they want to. But one thing we've learned very quickly is that, business owners are focused on their business. We tried to use a program called Notion, and I love Notion so much for so many other things. I do my shot lists in there, but they actually had to take time out of their day to go into Notion and then approve manually the post, and they just
Metricool doesn't work that way?
No, so Metricool, everything is very automated, which I love.
Okay.
Because when the posts are ready for approval, so let's say we do it in 1 to 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
It gathers all of those posts, all of those captions, and it sends it to them in one email. So not only do they get notified about it, but they don't have to leave the email to approve it.
Even with the videos and everything?
Yeah, so they can watch it, and then from there, they're able to approve it or reject it, and it gives them a place on, they can put notes as to why, if they want something changed. So it's so much easier for everyone involved. And then they also have a great analytics reporting system too.
Right.
So it was kind of trial and error to figure out what platform we like to use the best, but that has been my number one so far. So we go in, we get the shots. After we get the shots, I kind of show them the inspo videos on
let's talk about
absolutely.
Let's talk about the inspo videos, because to me that's where I say this all the time, the difference between Gen X and Gen Z is some of this stuff I don't get, but I don't discredit it because I know that it's not really meant for me to understand.
Yeah.
So, and I love that. So how do you find the inspo videos? I mean, what kind of searching do you do?
So the first thing that I do is once I have access to their socials, I look up the first keywords that their business has. So for example, if it's a co-working space, I'm going to look up co-working, or I'm going to look up co-workers, and I'm going to see
just a Google search.
No, it's going to be through social media.
Okay.
So it's going to be on TikTok, it's going to be on Instagram, whatever platforms they're on, I'm doing the searches through there.
Okay.
So I look, I see, what are the top performing posts, or what shows up the first time that I search that. And then I can kind of get an idea of, okay, if we're going to fall down that path, these are, when someone searches that, this is what's going to be popping up first.
Right.
And then I also go into the Reels tab, because the algorithm, really fancy word, they just find out, they can figure out how long you spend on a post topic, and figure out what kind of content you want to see. What are your values? It can kind of really dial that in. So for example, if it's the co-working space that I'm talking about, if I'm in the Reels tab and I'm scrolling, sometimes it'll pop up realtor reels. Realtor reels or other businesses that are a little bit more professional.
Because of the word real in it?
Not necessarily, no. But it just kind of gathers around, it deals with houses and spaces. And so it kind of gathers businesses around in the niche. It's not in the niche, but it's around there. But it feeds me content that, these people are creating these ideas that are still fun and entertaining to watch, but it is still relevant to the business that they have. So I go through there, I see what's doing good, what's not doing good, and how, these post ideas that I see, if it makes me laugh or if it makes me want to click and learn more about their business and it's relevant and it's good, I'll take that idea and I'll say, okay, how can we make this idea relevant to the business that we're working with without copying the idea itself?
That's what I was wondering too, because you have to make those alterations to it. And then you also have to get the client to go along with it.
Yeah. And it depends on the client too. I always say that, we work with so many different businesses, and that's one thing that I love is that, everyone has their own needs and wants from social media. If you're somebody that doesn't really care about, going viral or reaching a ton of people, sometimes they just want good professional images. They want to be able to show, in their BNI chapter, that they have a social media and that it looks really nice and professional. Are they going to go viral with just an image? Probably not. But they don't really care. They have their own needs.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Most of the business that we work with, and I am proud to say that we are up to 14 clients now over the past year, and that is phenomenal for a brand new business. But they're all local.
Yeah.
And so getting a reel to have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, views or likes, that doesn't really do anything for their KPIs. It doesn't do anything for getting more people in the doors. It's fun. I was going to say,
but it's good though. Yeah. That type of visibility is good. And I talk about with our clients a lot the marketing funnel. So it's you have at the top of the funnel be seen, then the middle one is build trust, and then the bottom one is make the sale. So
it's already break time.
Man, okay, I'll get back to this.
All right, don't forget.
I won't. Yeah,
we're good. I will. All right, we'll be right back with more BaaD Radio.
Together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Do you know what your sprinkler system did last night? Probably not, so now's a good time to get your irrigation system serviced by Ground Up Property Services today. And be sure to ask for a call with Ground Up about a water sensor too, so your lawn doesn't get too much water. Call 407-468-4295 or visit groundupinc.net. And just a little tidbit, BaaD Marketing is actually working on redoing groundup.inc, so very soon they're going to have a brand new beautiful logo to go to. All right, so we're here with Anna Smarrito, and she's our social media manager for our company, which is my company. It's our business. We do it together, and she's our social media manager. And before we went to break, she started talking about the advertising funnel or the marketing funnel. Mm-hmm. Now, I've learned about the funnel since I was in in college back in the 90s. And so it's obviously something that still holds up. It's obviously something that still works. And it's something that you use. Mm-hmm. And so tell us a little bit about how you use that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the marketing funnel, we were talking about it in the last session, but you have the 3 tiers. You think of it as a funnel. So you have the top part is the biggest, and then the bottom part is the smallest.
Right.
So on the top part, we have be seen. This is when businesses are first starting to really show up on social media. Yes, we want people to make a sale, right? We want to make the sale ultimately, but we also have to be seen first. You know, we have to get the eyes of the new viewers. So we have to create content that is going to reach those new people that, aren't followers already, or how are we going to enter into social media in a way that shows up on other people's feed?
Well, and also the hard part with a lot of the clients that we've had is that they're brands that aren't already known. And not only are they brands that are not only known, it's a service that is not very known. So, I mean, we've had them on here. It's Body Street. It's from Germany. It's technology that America is not used to. Now we have Mind Vibe Studio, which again is it's sound wave therapy. And again, it's new.
Yeah.
So you have your work cut out for you because you're trying to figure out, first, who is their target demo, and then how to get them to stop and look at it. So that's one of the benefits that we have not had is coming into a product or a service that people are already familiar with.
But I think that experimental phase is really fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of when you're trying to explain it to a client, we're in the A/B testing stage, and you try to explain it, but it really is. I mean, that's what we're doing, because how can we take this new product or service and how can we get it on the feeds of the people that we're trying to reach? And we'll see with the clients that we're working with, some of the content that's going to be rolling out is different than it has been in the past, and this is something I'm really excited about.
You don't get nervous?
No, not necessarily.
When new pieces of content go out?
No, I just want it to do good.
Yeah.
I want them to feel proud of doing it and having it on their page. But it's a lot more fun style reels. It's fun, it's silly, it's following trends, but it's still relevant to their business. It's still relevant, but it is following other trends. People have to show their faces more and kind of have to act things out. And, they kind of look at me funny when we're in the process of doing it. But I always pinky promise them. I'm like, look, you're going to be able to approve the post. So you're going to see it before it goes out. I'm not going to make you look like a fool. I'm going to make you, you're going to look at it and you're going to be proud of it and you're going to laugh and you're going to think it's great. And then we're going to post it.
Right.
And see how it does. Now, for the ones we have posted so far, it's done better than the other reels that are kind of, here's my business, here's what we do. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We want to have a good mixture of those types of, the content, but we also, we want a taste of a bunch of different types of content. So we want to have a good mix of it.
So that's exactly what it is a mix, and see which ones perform better.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't think it'd be a good idea to have nothing but green screen post after post after post, even though they're great and they're hilarious and they're all relative. There's one that you did for Body Street, which every time I see it, I'm like, yep, that's me. And it's a little boy, and he's doing a calculator. It's got all these numbers, and the caption is kind of like a mom trying to figure out how she's going to go grocery shop and pick up the kids, do this, but plus get a workout in. And it's for Body Street. And I'm like, yep, that's me. That's me trying to figure out how I'm going to get all this stuff.
Yeah, trying to be relatable.
Yeah. So I love that one. And so every time I see it, I'll share it again. Okay. So the top part is being seen. And then the second part is...
That's going to be building trust.
Okay.
So this is where kind of the educational / testimonial content comes in. I think a lot of businesses, when they first want to show up on social media, they're like, we need all testimonials and we need all education, which, as great and as valuable as that is, people, you can educate people on something they don't even know why they're listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know why are you relevant?
Why would I stop and listen to
Yeah,
you?
like I've never seen you on my social media page before. And when we're on social media, we're always there for a reason. Sometimes it's education. We look up something we want to learn the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's entertainment. You want to be entertained. And, when businesses can combine the two, that's perfect because you get the best of both worlds. But this is kind of where those topics come in. So you've already been seen. You've reached the new people. Now we want to build those trust with those people. Why? How do we reach them in a way that they're like, okay, I've seen these faces before. I know what they're providing, whether that's a service or a product. And, I've seen them show up enough to where I'm actually going to stop and I'm going to listen to, the people that have had experiences. So that's going to be the testimonials. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to listen to, these education tidbits about this product or service. That's really where that trust comes in, along with just showing up.
Right. No, I think that's fantastic. And then the bottom funnel?
That's make the sale.
Yeah.
So eventually, and it is the smallest portion. So, if you reach 30,000 people, that doesn't mean you're going to make $30,000 in sales. But those people that you reach, they're going to be funneled down. Mm-hmm. The right people that are going to be the target, the target audience that we're reaching that is actually going to be interested in interacting with your service is going to be funneled down into that bottom one.
Mm-hmm.
Where they say, okay, I've seen you show up. I've seen you interact with other people on social media. I've seen you build a community. I've seen you, I can tell that you're real people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not mechanical. You're not, sitting behind, being super like corporate and, you can't.
Like the auto responses. Thank you for sending a message.
Yeah. Like you can tell that there's a community. There's people that are working behind it to show up and to show up for your business too. Mm-hmm. Showing your face, being a part of, something experimental. You're showing up for your business. Mm-hmm. So I've seen you. I've learned to trust you, and now I'm actually interested in the product or service that you have.
Mm-hmm. You know what I do want to talk about is there was a situation that came up, and so I take care of the social media management for Froggers, and recently I posted an ad that was for hiring, mm-hmm. and there was a couple of responses that the normal person would go on there and just be like, don't apply. We don't want your kind, because a lot of times it's people that want to poke and they want to say negative things. Mm-hmm. But there was one post that you came across where it was for Body Street, so it was a workout. So tell us about that time that you turned a negative comment into something that was actually with a positive outcome.
Oh yeah, of course. So people can kind of tell you about the term. It's like positive controversy.
Okay.
So that's kind of what people talk about is you want to get people to stop and to talk. And, people who come up on a subject that they might not know mm-hmm. that much about. So Body Street, it's new technology. People don't really understand it all that well. Some people's first reaction to do that is to leave a comment that can be kind of hurtful.
Well, like this is just garbage.
Yeah, it can be
fake.
kind of hurtful, or they can, there was somebody that left a comment that was like, nothing beats, traditional iron, and so it's not like they're going and insulting somebody per se, but
mm-hmm.
they don't understand. And so we actually can go in and we are able to reply in a way that still like is validating to their feelings of like, oh, I completely understand like why you think
mm-hmm.
that way. In terms of that comment that was about the iron, I was like, look, I'm like, Body Street's not against traditional workouts. Mm-hmm. They actually recommend mixing in Body Street workouts with traditional workouts. But I'm like, we're just glad to, provide a workout service that is all inclusive to people who might not be able to traditionally lift weights in the gym. Mm-hmm. And so he replied and he was like, okay, you know what? That's valid. Mm-hmm. So there was that situation.
And then people read that.
They do read that. And so then, the algorithm is like, okay, people are commenting, people are responding, and so that's where like the positive controversy comes in because, people leaving negative comments or something along that manner does kind of boost the post
right.
to other people. So, you don't want to show up and be weird and like, make a bad comment to somebody else if they leave a bad comment because that's not good. But there's ways to turn it around if people don't understand. There was somebody else that, left a comment of like, this is silly. And yeah, is it going?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's already at 30 seconds.
We'll come back to it.
Right. But I think that this is incredibly important information. And so I definitely want to talk more about that when we get back. So everybody stay tuned for some more BaaD Radio coming up.
Stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. And you don't want to miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, Altamont Springs, and visit froggers.com for more info. Frogger's Grill and Bar. Hop in with food and fun.
Yeah, boy.
That's right. That whole front part of that whole live read got cut off somehow. But guess what? We're just rolling with it.
Yep,
So
let's do it.
that's what I do. I just roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
So before we went to break, we were talking about what did you call it? Positive controversy.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember. That's called an idiom or something. It's something. There's a word for having two words that don't match come together. And so what you've done is you've accomplished getting interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, then you've made it to where the algorithm is like, okay, this is something that people are interested in. And so you go in there and you start having conversations with these people.
Yeah, and there's a balance too. You don't want to go in and be argumentative.
Exactly.
You know, if there is a comment that is left that is just borderline offensive, then it's okay to delete those. You know, because you don't want that on your page.
And lots of times those are just trolls.
Yeah. So that's something that, like, it's okay to delete it, but you don't have to go and delete every negative comment that you get because it can be turned into a positive experience. So when we got cut off, I was talking about somebody that had left, kind of a negative comment on one of Body Street's posts. And it was because she was confused. So I was able to respond to her, and I was like, look, I totally...
Do you remember what she said?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I wish I did. It was something about, like, I don't even understand how this works, you know, but it was like with a laughing emoji. It was kind of, she just...
She was basically saying it's just a bunch of
garbage.
hogwash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I was able to go in and actually explain the technology further to her and said, hey, look, like, even if you just want to try it out, just... as a joke or whatever you want to do, you can still come in for a free trial.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can come in. And she actually responded, and she was like, oh, okay, thank you so much for responding to me. Like, that's actually really interesting to learn.
Right.
So she was able to turn around and be like, she made that first comment as, I don't understand this. I think it's kind of goofy, silly.
Right.
It's weird. But then you explain it a little bit further, and she's like, I really appreciate that you took the time to respond to me. And then now this is a positive situation that was once negative turned positive, that people go into the comments and they read it and they can actually see that, you're interacting with these people in a positive manner. So definitely don't get argumentative with them.
Right.
But that's what we're also able to do with our services is we take care of, responding to comments and keeping up with engaging with others in the target audience and, customers, clients, DMs, all that fun stuff, and building those relationships through there.
And you want to know that something is interesting is growing up in like old school sales, and you don't ever want to ask a question back in the day. You never wanted to ask a question that gave somebody the opportunity to say no, I wouldn't try this, or to, but you don't do that.
It's different now.
It is different now. And I think sometimes when we're talking to the clients and they're asking like, why would you put that in the comment, or not in the comments, but in the context. And
I would put like, would you want to try this? Why or why not?
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, but we don't want to give them the opportunity to say why not.
Or yes.
And I'm like, okay, but if they say why not, then we can understand, why are they feeling weird about this, and how can we explain it further to where they feel better about it? Right.
Not to mention, now you got that interaction,
the engagement too, because
right.
people, I feel like people would be quicker to say why not if they actually felt. People love to talk about that kind of stuff. They love to get on social media and talk about why or why not they would do something, or people, there's certain type of people that are very quick to talk about, their personal feelings in that regard. So giving them the opportunity to say it in a safe space, because we're not going to go and bash them for why they wouldn't want to try it, but also being able to understand, okay, this is a pain point of our strategy. This is you're able to get insight of, this is something they're not understanding. So how can we make that better?
Well, you're fleshing out you're fleshing out the misconceptions. You're fleshing out reasons why people think it's wonky. And lots of times, especially the older generation like me, when we see something like it's 20 minutes once a week, our brains are like, no, because we have our standards. You go to the gym, you have to have your heart rate up for at least 20 minutes. You have to go 3 times a week. You have to do this. You eat 1,200 calories a week or a day, sorry. We have all these absolutes that we have been drilled into our brains since we were born. And now it's getting that generation to be more open-minded.
How can we challenge it? Yeah.
So the younger generation is much more open-minded, but I am finding that my generation is becoming more and more open-minded to alternative things to the norm, alternative things to insurance, alternative things to feeling better without being, having like 15 prescription bottles sitting on your nightstand and stuff. So, but I think that what you're talking about is truly amazing. And I do think that a lot of people don't understand the power of social media and the power of getting people to interact with those specific ads. And so once you get them down to that sale point, that's when you do like a call to action, right?
Yeah, of course. And so we always want to sprinkle in a small call to action in almost every post, not every post, but in a good amount. And usually that's going to be in the caption. So if it's like a silly, goofy post, it's not, here's my shop, welcome to my shop, come into my shop. It's going to be something that's more personality based. In the caption, there'll be more explanation on the business, and it'll say, something along the lines of, if you're ready to get started, or if you're ready to do this, or if this is something that you need, comment this word, because that's easy for people to do. They're already in social media. So they can comment trial, or they can comment peace, or they can comment something, and then you can have the call to action of, or visit the link in my bio to learn more. Right. So there's always going to be that small call to action, but then once in a while we do mix in a post that is more of a direct call to action to the actual business. It is a little bit more like traditional marketing, just to kind of highlight that small percentage. Right. That's not going to be the post that's going to reach the most new people, but it's going to be kind of, people get a greater understanding of the actual business that you have.
Right. Well, I think the whole thing, like I said, the way that you have it mapped out is something that I'm very proud of as a mother, like watching you do that. And when I watch you interact with the clients. And so the social media management has grown to be a very large part of our business. And it goes, there's 3 different tiers that you can do, like you had mentioned earlier. You can do 3 posts a week, 5 posts a week, 7 posts a week, I think. And they all can vary. And we're also flexible. In addition to, we'll work with the client on the content. So sometimes when you mentioned like lots of social media places, they don't go in and help people with their shot list, which we will.
Yeah, what I love about what we do is we're very flexible to small and medium-sized businesses. There are different marketing agencies that work in different fashions where they have their strict packages and that's just all they do. They're going to give the same package to every single client that they work with. Right. The same options. And that works for, functionality. It's a bit simpler to just do it that way. You have your systems in place. But we're a little bit more flexible in that regard to where, small, medium-sized businesses, let's say that they want 3 posts a week, but maybe they don't want an analytics report call at the end of the month. All of our clients get an analytics report at the end of the month that's, as detailed or simple as they want it to be, but it'll tell them, what post did the best, what did the worst.
I like looking
I know,
at
aren't they
those.
fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we share that with them. But let's say they don't want an hour call once a month to talk about that. Then we're able to cross that off the list. We're like, okay, we can still work with you. We're not going to force you into this, this package that A, you can't afford, and B, you don't even want all of the services that are on it. So we do have those packages to, provide simplicity for people. If they just want the whole shebang, they can go and pick one of those. But we also work with a lot of people that maybe have smaller budgets or just have less needs that are on the packages. Right. And that's one thing that I love about us. We're able to really build those connections and help these businesses grow from the ground up.
Right. And then I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but just how bringing BaaD marketing or BaaD radio into the mix. How do you feel about bringing those reels and mixing the content reels we put from this show into their weekly posts?
It's perfect. It really is. It's perfect. It's people love like podcast radio show style reels. They like to hear people talk. You have, not that this is not a podcast, but people like podcasts that are long form. People love to listen in on those. So to be able to have that credibility, that credibility factor of, I've been on a radio show. I've been on iHeart. Yeah. I have these educational topics where you can listen to me talk about my subject. Right. Just directly. Right. It's beautiful. It's so valuable, and I love it, and I know our clients love it.
I know. That makes me happy.
And it's so fun to see them pop up. It's amazing.
I love it when I get served one too, because I'm like, yep, that's my show.
That's me.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. It went super fast. Anna, you did an amazing job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I actually learned a lot of your processes today. So thank you, everyone, for tuning into BaaD Radio this week. Have a great week. And remember, everyone, to support local.